chat, low voltage chat with Chuck Bowser and Kevlin Pasco. Kevlin, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Chuck. How are you doing today? Thank you for having me. I always look forward to this. Super excited about today's topic.
Today's topic's kind of a cool one, isn't it? Because this
hmm
one was a direct suggestion from not last week, 2 weeks ago. I don't remember. It was
yes, it was.
was it last week? Heck, I don't remember. This week's flying by on me. So this is actually this, and there's another one too. It was I've got it on my post-it note. My post-it note's buried at the moment. There's a reason you can't see this part of my desk because there's a pile of stuff like that that's underneath there. So this one was actually a recommendation from an audience, a request from an audience member, and you got to give you credit because you reached out and you got some pretty top tier guests on the show for this conversation about mentor.
Thanks. Yeah,
About
I'm
mentoring.
excited. I'm
Yeah.
excited to bring my friends up on stage here with us and learn a bit of what they're up to and their contributions in the industry. And it's long and vast, and they've got some special input and insight as to mentorship. So really, really excited to have those two on.
Let me ask you this before we bring them on. Have you ever had a mentor?
I have. I've had two.
Okay.
One was a Marine drill sergeant,
Okay.
and the other one was also in the Marines, special ops. So I have this. I'm not sure what you would call it, but I gravitate towards the military
Right.
and their way of doing things. So those have been my two mentors.
Oh, very cool. I've had several over the years. I would say my first one was my dad, who because your dad's always your
Of
first one,
course,
right?
of course.
And then I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of supervisors who took investment in me and helped me realize kind of there's more to this industry. You need to put more time in this industry. So let's get these guys, let's get these guests in here so they can introduce themselves. So we have with us Alvin Gilmore and Heather Randolph. How's everybody doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good.
Doing well, doing well.
Alrighty. So ladies first. Heather, who are you? And
Well,
why
what
should the
Chuck
audience listen to you?
just said, my name is Heather. I'm Heather Randolph, and I am a technology design engineer working for EXP down in Miami, Florida. I currently volunteer and sit on the committee chair for BICSI mentorship program. And also volunteer heavily in some other organizations in our cabling industry.
So you know a little bit about mentoring.
I do, just a little bit.
Alvin, who are you?
I ask myself that every morning when I wake up out of the bed because I have no idea. I wait for my wife to tell me who I am. How about that?
There you go.
And to dress you, right, Alvin?
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
My name's Alvin Gilmore. I currently work for Collaborative Technology Solutions in Raleigh, North Carolina. I've been in this industry now for close to 30 years, I think. It's hard because I'm only 25, so I'm still trying to figure out how I've been in this industry for 30 years. And I'm
Hold on, let me do the math on that.
do the math on
That
that.
that doesn't come out right.
We got to do the
That
math
must be some of that
too.
new age math.
Yeah.
And again, I've been a mentee as well as a mentor. Again, I heard you listening to you guys backstage talk. Of course, your first mentor is dad, and with me, my dad and my mom. Of course, they laid the base layer down for you, what to do and what not to
Right.
do as a adult or a young adult. So again, an interesting topic. I'm looking forward to talking about my experiences and listening to your experiences as well. The one thing I did hear backstage is don't mess with Kevin because
No.
Marine and Marine. Come on, I mean, what?
Hey, my dad's a Marine too. So, hey.
Well, my dad was, I got corrected the other day, 28-year veteran and Air Force. And I had to do his resume not too long ago. And I also interviewed him about 6 months ago. And that was one of my largest posts to celebrate him and his achievement. So,
Very cool.
yeah, So instead of having family members on our hallway growing up, we had C-130s.
Oh, I'm jealous. I'd have been cool with that.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, for the audience, this show is going to be totally unpracticed because Chuck forgot to send out the list of the questions to everybody in advance. So, you're going to get the raw, unpublished, not thought out in advance answers right here, right now.
That's the best kind of show.
Yeah, I would agree. You know,
I agree. So
Yes.
here comes the first question. Right. The first question is: when seeking a mentor, what are some key attributes that a mentee should look for to make sure they have a successful match? So I'll go first, and then I'll pick on somebody. I'm going to look for somebody who has the position or the skills that I want that I may not necessarily have. And I know I'm kind of weird this way, but I'm going to look for somebody who doesn't look or act like me. Does that make sense? Because they have a different perspective of things. And I've learned that lesson a long time ago. And sometimes that's easy and sometimes it's hard. Kevin, what about you?
I completely agree with you, Chuck. And you and I didn't really know each other, and you're a legend. You just won a very well. You're my legend. You're somebody that people aspire and are inspired by. And I had that experience with you, and I came knocking because you and I are obviously different. Our perspectives are different. And I found that there was huge value there in bringing our two different perspectives together, learning through each other. And it wasn't a superior, inferior kind of deal. It was like minds that respected each other's point of view. And that is probably the culmination of what I would look for in a leader and mentor.
Okay. Alvin, what's your thoughts on that?
Again, from my experience, you want to look for someone that has been where you're trying to go. Again, sort of kind of similar to what you just said, that holds a position that you're inspiring to one day hold yourself. So, but again, I do like one key point you said, just someone that's not like you, maybe a little bit rough around the edges and just not basically taking the same path that you envision taking to achieving that goal. Just someone that just took the off-beaten path to sort of kind of give you a full perspective of different avenues of achieving your goals.
Yeah, my son's visiting me this week from Denver, and we took a hike a couple days ago through the Withlacoochee State Forest, and great father-son time. Mm-hmm. And I told him, I said, look, everybody has a different journey.
Right.
Everybody's a different journey. Some people that journey's easy. Some people that journey's hard.
Yep.
But everybody has a different journey, and you got to be respectful of that journey because sometimes it's not about the destination; it's about how you get there.
It's about
how you get there.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, Heather, I happen to know you very well because I also kind of dabble in the mentoring area a little bit here and there, and you're on that thing. So, what would be your recommendation to a mentee who's looking for a mentor? What should they look for?
I would say a big attribute that I would say that I would want to look for in somebody is listen. Someone who can listen. Because I found that, you want to find someone that will listen to you, to your goals, to your aspirations, like what you guys just said. Find somebody that you find yourself to aspire to be. And if you find that person, in order to, learn and have that mentorship relationship, you need to have someone that is there to listen. So I would say that's probably a big attribute there that I would definitely look for in a very good, successful match. But kind of going off the topic of what you guys have just said of finding somebody that's different than you, one of the things that I've kind of looked into myself as attributes is when I'm trying to find a good mentorship or mentor, is finding somebody that I see a lot of myself in.
Okay.
And so throughout my life, I've seen people, hey, but that kind of goes back to, I also see them as a person of, they're in life where I want to go. But I also find, other attributes of like personality or things that that may fit along the same mindset as I do, so we can figure out, the same path, or like how to get there, and things like that. So I actually kind of like will look at people who have some similarities in a
Right.
way, who I can see myself in. Is one of the things that I've looked into as well,
Right.
just because you want to have also that good connection of, where do we, hey, are we the same zodiac sign, or are we,
Right.
do you have kids? Do you want a family? Doing some of these other things, that also can help strengthen the mentorship of different things where we can relate on as well.
Right. So, I've had, like I said, I've mentored a lot of people over the years, and it's funny because there's never been a formal mentor process until relatively recently in my career. I mean, I've always mentored people, but I didn't realize that was called mentoring, right? It was somebody I took under my wing, and
Yeah.
and I found that the best mentor-mentee relationships, at least for me, was when I looked at that person and I'm like, that's me 20 years ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Can I add to that, Chuck?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
for Heather, so I started in the industry quite a long time ago, and it wasn't often that you see another woman. Now you see them everywhere. Now the Suffolks, the Turners, they're all highlighting these young ladies, these women in the project management roles, and they're out in the field. They've got the hard hats on, or in the office administration, or even at a leadership level. And when I started seeing more and more women in the workforce in our industry, in the infrastructure and integration and construction, it was like, whew, this is, so it's not necessarily a mentor alignment. It's more of like, how can we help each other do this together and empower our efforts as a team, because obviously we've got some challenges that we face naturally anyway, but I've really enjoyed mostly working whenever I see a woman in our industry like Heather. We met, with an organization that we're involved in, and it was like, yay. Like, I know that we're going to get the job done because I know that we probably come from very similar mindsets and aspirations, and our pursuit to, kind of, play with the big game, playing the big game of scheme of things. It's motivating. So just really neat to see more women in the workforce. That's one of my self-mentoring type of.
Self-mentoring. That's a new hashtag.
Right.
Self-mentoring. I like that.
Or aspiration. Like, I aspire not
Yeah.
necessarily to be Heather, but I aspire to align with her and to empower her and to support her whenever necessary.
Oh, you actually, that's a great point.
Right.
Because I hear people, because of my day job and because of the podcast, I talk to lots of people, and a lot of people always say, well, Chuck, I want to be like you. I'm like, you don't want to be me. Trust me. I've got a lot of baggage in the back that's just off the camera that you don't see. Okay. Be yourself. And that's where this whole conversation about a journey came in with my son. Walk your own journey. Yes, you can look for other people to aspire or inspiration, like Kevin said, but don't try to be the exact same person. No two people are the same because everybody's different. Lots of different varying factors. Let's shift our conversation to mentors, right? So, in y'all's opinion, and we'll start off with you first, Alvin.
Mm-hmm.
What qualities or skills is going to make a mentor effective?
I guess the first thing you want someone that's hardworking. I think if you are, and again, I'm gonna use my dad as an example here. It wasn't he's telling me you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do that. He's just leading by example, so to speak. Just not really giving me the playbook, but he's playing the game, and I'm watching. I'm sitting back, just watching every move, and just and just taking note of how he handles certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
So you want someone that is dedicated to what they do. Someone that I won't say just knows everything about what they do, but at least knows the ins and out of their responsibilities. And I would say again, we're not just talking about job skills here.
Right,
Again,
right.
as a mentor, I'm also looking at life skills. I'm adding that in there as well. This is not just someone in the ICT industry. They're good at that. Again, you want to get to know them outside of work as well.
Right.
Just
Right.
to make sure that, hey, this is someone that my core values align with exactly what this individual is doing as well. So
Okay.
again, I think it's responsible individual, and again, just making sure your core values line up with their core values as well.
Heather, what's your thoughts on this?
I would say, going back again, reinforcing the listening aspect, but I think on a different core value would be also trustworthy.
Yeah.
Someone who you find is very trustworthy, because that's you can't have a mentee, someone to look up to, if you're not, if you don't have that quality of trusting. If
Right.
you can't be trustworthy yourself, and understanding that. But I also really would emphasize on the aspect of being open-minded
Right.
with being a mentor, because again, if you're a mentor, you don't know who all is really looking up to you. There's probably people who look up to me that I don't even know who are looking up to me.
Right.
And so if people do come up to me or looking up to me and asking me questions, I don't want to sit there and turn my hat away. I want to be open-minded, listen, and understand, like, what's your questions, how can I help you, and be open and just really offer that kind hand to really try to be there for them as a mentor. So that's kind of really some of the key qualities that I would say that would help really make
Right.
a good mentor
Right.
in life.
And you touched on something real important there too, Heather, when you mentioned you don't know who's looking at you as a mentor. Again, that goes back to what you do. I won't say out of the spotlight. I don't want to say behind closed doors, but what do you do out of the spotlight when the light's not shining on you? How do you perform then, or what decisions do you make during that time? Again, because it's like I tell my kids all the time when again, both of them play basketball, and just say, hey, you don't know who's in the stands watching you.
Right.
Again, of course, dad's there yelling at you, telling you to do the right thing, but you don't know who else there is watching what you do. Make good decisions. Again, just keep a good head on your shoulders at all times.
Yeah. It's easy to
During the
make the right.
games or at practice, it doesn't make a difference.
It's easy to make the right decision when you know you're being watched.
Right. Correct.
Right.
Correct.
My dad always used to say, and I know I'm going to butcher this saying because I can never remember it right, but he always used to say, integrity is doing the right thing even when nobody's watching.
Yep.
Yes.
And he didn't say it exactly that way. There was a few curse words in there as well. But,
Right.
Kevin, what would you look for quality?
Sure. So the two opportunities that I've had for mentorship, they came to me, where they, like what you just said, Alvin, they saw something that I had. They saw a different attribute or a different sparkle or a different skill set, a uniqueness, and most of all, the enthusiasm to make a difference. I feel that really highlighted to them to come to me and approach me. Either one, I didn't approach them, but after some research and obviously some podcasts and some learning over the years, you really want to look for somebody that shares the same beliefs and values as you do, because if you're mentoring with somebody that might be a little bit more Christian and you're not into perhaps religion so much, it might come to where there might be maybe an impasse, or maybe there might not be alignment down the way.
Okay.
And I also feel that there could be, right? But I think if your core values and beliefs are there, as long as y'all can adjust, if there are some rough patches or rough edges, that I feel that if there's learning opportunity, for me, obviously, as I've gone up in my career, the military fella is somebody that I look up to, because I know that they have spent some time dedicating their lives to our country. So that I look for. And I look, even with Alvin, I mentioned to him a few weeks ago that he's a total surprise for me, but he would make a perfect mentor
Right.
for me and for anybody. And that's probably why he's in the organizations that he's involved in. And same with Heather, that, you guys are involved in organizations that foster this, that promote the mentoring and mentorship programs. And so you are on the front lines of supporting this movement. But I really think that you just got to align yourself with the morals and values and beliefs and the culture, all that good stuff. Is at least you got the baseline there.
Right. The only trait that I would add, I agree with everything y'all said. The only one I would add to that is I would look for somebody who's nourishing. And
Yeah.
the reason I would do that, because I can learn from somebody who's nourishing and somebody's not nourishing. But if somebody's nourishing, then you're not having to spend that extra energy trying to make that relationship because they already have it built
Right.
within them.
Yeah.
So that makes that mentoring a little bit easier for me. And that's just my opinion. I mean,
Right.
so all right, let's go to question number 3. This one, what role does ongoing communication and feedback play during the mentoring relationship, and how can it contribute to a mentee's growth? I'll let Kevin go first on this one.
Okay, so I'm just curious. I know, like I just said, Alvin and Heather are very involved in mentorship, and maybe they can give us the top 5 elements to this that actually make a mentorship relationship successful. And maybe we can add on to what, because obviously they're really experienced in this. We've worked together, but I would love to hear maybe more of a formal way that the mentorship relationship works, and you've seen it work.
Right. I guess I can go ahead and start with some of that. Maybe give a few qualities, and then Alvin can chime in with a few others. But I would definitely see like it, ongoing communication and feedback play. Again, it goes back to in order to have a mentorship, you have to have communication. You have to, you can't just walk up to somebody, hey, can you be my mentor? Like they're gonna look at you crazy. Like,
Yes.
Right.
like,
right.
what? So again, you need to have like those communication skills of understanding each other and wanting to know, what are those core values and beliefs, and like what can we do to inspire each other? Because I definitely believe it's not a one-way street. It is a relationship, and that communication goes from one way to the other. And then again, going back to listening and trusting one another. Are again really 2 key components into this. And then I also think it says feedback is also understanding. I would probably say is if you have a mentor and that they are giving you that time to help you grow in whatever you are aspiring to be, is to let them know that they are being there, like, that they're doing their job as a mentor and inspiring you, and that you appreciate them and giving them those kudos that need, that reassurance of understanding that this relationship is working, and that our relationships growing, and that we are communicating back and forth and understanding how can I help you and how can you help me. So I would say that's kind of really where I see the relationship between mentors and mentees.
Yeah.
Alvin?
Open communication again and feedback is that's key. Again, both directions. Again, if you are a mentor and have someone under your wing that is again just basically trying to learn how you do things, they're learning from you. They'd like to get to where you're going or where you've been. I mean, I think I want to know if I'm doing a great job or not. I mean, and that is after, again, it just depends on the setting. Again, based on my past experience, it was all done this way, exactly what we're doing now. It was done virtually. My very first, I wouldn't say first, but my last mentee, everything was done virtually. It was during COVID, and there was a little bit of distance between us. I was in North Carolina, he was in Aruba, so there was just a little bit of difference between the two of us. So we would just meet once a week virtually, and again, we started off once every other week, and then we got into the hang of things and just loved it so much that we started doing it once a week for 2 hours.
Wow.
Again, just conversating, and again, I had a certain certification that he was striving to achieve, and we just basically talked about it, reviewed literature, reviewed books, talked about some of my experiences, talked about some of his experiences, and again, those were completely different because I'm here and he's there. So, again, but I asked for feedback. Just, hey, man, after each session, if there are a couple of things you didn't understand or a couple of things you want me to basically elaborate on before we begin our next session, just let me know. And then he would do the same thing. Hey, if there's some things I'm lacking on a little bit, you know what I mean, and I need to get up to speed on, send me something or send me some literature or whatever to cover before our next session. So again, it goes both ways, but communication is that's the bee's knees right there.
Yeah, I say this every time I teach a class, and it's kind of a joke, but it's not a joke. Just because we work in the communications industry doesn't mean we communicate.
Right.
Oh, good.
Yes. Yeah. We're probably the worst at it. That's the crazy
We
thing.
absolutely are. So let's hit some chat questions. So somebody on TikTok says, just entered the SMB tech training after acquiring Tech 5 promotions into fiber. Any tips? Keep going the way you're going. This is really more about mentorship than training programs. And then we also had a couple here. Somebody chimed in on the same faith, right? Someone of the same faith, someone who inspires me to be a better person, someone who has the time to spend in quality time with me over the long run. Most mentoring relationships have lasted 2 to 10 years. I will say that because, when I do my mentoring, it's usually, I tell them it's a 1-year mentoring program.
Right.
I'm still talking to the first person I mentored 25 years ago.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, he's in my study group right now.
Right.
And he was the first person I said, you remind me of me when I was your age.
Can I bring something up, Chuck?
Yes.
So the last commenter, Mr. Bob Britz, I would consider him a mentor of my life as well. We've known each other for almost 17 years, and I invited him on our show today just to, meet the famous Chuck Bowser, and really because we were going to be talking about mentoring, and I thought that he'd find some value in this, and just to see our show and how you run it and how nicely you've done in promoting positivity and education in our industry. So, but Bob's been great. He's been a great influence in my professional career as well. Nice. So thank you, Bob, for joining us.
So the next one is, I always train and mentor to grow in their goals, improve themselves and others, even if they pass on, because it's not only me. It actually brings up a good point. Whenever I mentor somebody, I always tell them there's two hard requirements for being my mentoring program. One, you have to participate. You have to communicate. Number 2, you have to pay it forward.
Yes.
Those are my 2 requirements.
And that is very, I think one of my first professional mentors, that was his, basically what he told me, and it was me just approaching him and just asking questions. And eventually he caught on. I was like, hey man, look, if you want me to show you the ropes, I'll show you the ropes. But one day I want you to do the same thing.
Right.
You have to pay it forward. And he said, I'm not saying to someone here and now, but you have to pay it forward. And I actually and that was, again, and
you have to follow up with that too.
Right.
You have to follow up with it.
Well, that was about 25 years ago, and he and I are still in the same organization, and I saw him this past February in Tampa. So he's still around, and he and I still communicate.
And to be present while you're communicating too, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely,
yes.
absolutely.
Your time is so valuable, and I've had calls with Bob, and it's just this morning. It's like I have an emergency. I ran out of the screen and I came right back, and I wouldn't have missed coming back for anything. And that's such a huge priority, and just showing up, being present, and communication.
Right. So another feedback. It says feedback has been set up. It has to be set up from the beginning. Oh yeah, absolutely. I tell people all the time. Can you imagine? Because you see basketball, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine trying to play basketball if you didn't know where the hoop was?
Right.
Mm-mm.
or what this how it was going to be scored,
Right.
how who
Right.
was going to be determined the winner or the loser.
Yeah.
If you don't set those expectations up
Up front.
front, so everybody's on the same page from the beginning.
Yep. Yep.
And again,
From
it's
the
just it's being a mentor. It's just like a coach. Hey, coach, what am I doing wrong? What do I need to do to improve my game? How can I get more playing time? Same thing in our industry. What do I need to do to get to where you're at? How can I make myself a better person? And how can I get more responsibility and move up the corporate ladder? Same deal.
Right.
Well, it's the synergy, right? It's like
Yes.
it's the pushing up the ladder and pulling from below, and it's yeah.
Yeah, mentoring is a mutually beneficial relationship.
Yep.
Mutually beneficial. So John Bowser, it's funny. John and I, we go back, gosh, I don't know, 5 years. Even though we share the last name, we figured out we might be related, but we're not. I found him on Facebook. I went on Facebook one day because my wife and I, we have a photography business. I got on Bowser Photography, and his name popped up, and I was like, "Hey!" And I sent him a friend request. I've had coffee with him. He's a great guy. So I love his comment here. He says, I see I've recently started mentoring some folks, and I realized I shouldn't have wasted my time. What are some qualities and signs to look for and an individual will be worth doing mentoring with? So if you're a mentor and somebody's coming to you, say a mentee, are you going to screen that mentee, or are you just going to take everybody's coming at you?
Well, can I add something here? I think these are the questions that Alvin and Heather could absolutely target, and because these are your guys, these are your ladies, this is your gentlemen to ask these questions, like how you can get more involved and what are some of the key factors to ask, or ask questions, etc.
I would definitely say a big thing when I would say that I kind of unofficially train a lot of new hires throughout the industry and through my job and career right now. And I would say a big thing for me to understand, whether or not it's investment and worth my time is, looking at how many questions do they ask you? Are they need to be curious. They can't just sit there and look for you to just give direction or to just help. They need to find a way to get information, like ask questions, be curious, communicate. Goes
Right.
back to communication, just like we've been saying this whole time. And so I would say that that's a big quality, I look for as far as looking for individuals who are looking to grow and better themselves and wanting to, whether that they're looking up to me as a mentor or just looking up to me, as just a regular person and asking questions from my experience,
Right.
it's because of that curiosity. And again, going back to, listening. If I listen to their questions, they're obviously, and also giving off the vibes and energy that they can trust me to then also ask those questions, and whatever those questions may be, it doesn't always have to be career related all the time either, so I would definitely say that's something I really look for with somebody who's trying to be a mentee, is really
Right.
see if they're coming prepared, see if they're coming with questions,
Right.
what kind of questions are they. Once they listen to your answer, are they stemming another question from that, and just continue growing?
Right. My dad always used to say, "Love you, Dad." There's a difference between listening and a difference between hearing.
Right.
And if you're not paying attention, and one of the things he taught me is, if I'm having a conversation with somebody, I'm gonna reverb it back to you to make sure that that we understand each other. Because if I don't, then I could be totally off on the left base, and you could be thinking something else. So I've always done that. Let's go with the next question. This one, this is a good one. What can an organization or community effectively establish to support mentoring programs to ensure sustainability and success? If we only had somebody who had some expertise in this area.
I don't know who that could be. I don't know. Is her name Heather?
Yes, yes, it is. So what say you, Heather?
So I would definitely say hard work. Alvin mentioned that a few questions ago, in hard work. And so that is really one of the big key aspects of being able to establish something that is successful, because you can half-ass it, and it won't be successful.
Right.
You go back to school. If you half-ass in a project, you're going to get a C. You go above and beyond and make sure that you put in the hard work and the effort and communicate, and really pursue something that you are passionate about. You're going to go ahead and get that A and A plus, and continue to keep succeeding and moving forward. And so one of the best ways to probably really, establish this is, right now is a lot of social media. Is a big thing. You see a lot of TikTokers, influencers, people, and so podcasts, all these things that I think in our generation right now is, and again, also going to be a key factor in helping establish mentorships and support mentoring is all of that surrounding us. We no longer live in a generation where the technology is at the very basic minimum. It surrounds us all day, every day. And so I think, also leveraging those media platforms as much as you can as well will definitely help spread the word, communicate, and really get involved through the communities. And then kind of going also back to what Alvin mentioned, he's talked about sports and basketball, and going into your local communities as well is also a big thing to establish mentorships and relationships, whether that is through schooling. One of the things that we're looking for doing in my career and at my job right now is also mentoring and setting up local engineering talks with high school students. And so it's just, again, finding ways to reach out to your community, give back, pay those forward, like what Chuck said. And that's kind of one of the things that really drives me into what inspires me to do, be so passionate about mentoring and mentorship, and being a mentor myself and also being a mentee, is just really understanding, I've had such great, wonderful individuals throughout my entire life, going back to high school, who have really, have taken me under their wing, have really mentored me to help me become a better person that I am today. And I've learned to just pay that forward.
Right.
And that's kind of really what I've been able to do. And I'm excited to be part of different organizations that have been able to establish a great mentoring program. And then just also working, with other individuals in the industry that may not necessarily, be a part of a specific organization, but are just there to help and answer questions for you, take you out or just answer questions. Like I said, I'm sure I'll be calling Ashley and saying, hey, how in the world did you have children in this industry? Because I don't know what I'm going to do whenever I have a kid. Like there's going to be different things that you look for in other different people throughout all walks of life. And that, like I said, it goes back to being open-minded, because not a single person's journey is the same. And so you really want to figure out how you can help each other and just be open-minded and communicate and just really establish those different standards for each other.
Our industry's been really bad about that I've been in for 41 years. And I've said this many times and all my platforms, we're raised up with, well, if I teach that person my skills, then they're going to take my job.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's the wrong way to think about it, right? And that's why I went, and I'll say this out there since it's the elephant in the room. Bixie has a mentoring program, okay, for communications. And when I learned about that program 2 years ago, I couldn't join it fast enough. And I tell you, and I'm a better person for being in that program, because the people that I get paired up with are people who are like one of the guys last year, Eric Quick. I would have never met him. He's in Georgia. I'm in Florida, but we as an industry, we are moving better towards communicating and mentoring. We still have a long way to go to work on that. A long way to go.
Right.
Because there's still a lot of the old, I think Carol, I was talking to Carol Everett Oliver at the Nika Bixie conference last week. And I said it to her, I said, the old guard has to just go away. And technically I'm considered one of the old guard. I've been around for a long time. And she goes, #old. I'm like, I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that.
Can I add to it? And if you're finished, Chuck, I'd like to add.
Absolutely.
So, obviously we're all from different parts of the country and obviously the elephant in the room, Bixie, it's a global organization. And but that doesn't mean that you can't still be in a mentor program in your own community, whether it's the church like Bob had just mentioned, whether it's high schools, your alma mater, your colleges, your community colleges. There's so many, there's job fairs that, just go as yourself and participate, and there's volunteering. There's volunteering that you can get involved any day of the week in any organization. But I'm from California, so obviously we've got the IBW, we've got the NICA, we've got the apprenticeship programs, and I'm also involved with Bixie. I'm a very, very happy member of them as well. But there's so many opportunities out there if you just go looking. And obviously Heather and Alvin are here for more of a specific organization, but it's what you make of it, right? And it's what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it, whether you're a mentor or you're looking for someone to be your mentor. You got to put the effort into it. So
Right, and that's a good point. And again, if you're looking at starting an organization or a mentor or some type of mentorship organization or mentor organization, you need someone that's very passionate about it, running it. Again, like Heather, and because again, it's and Heather, you can just nod your head when I make these. More than likely, if it's some type of mentorship program, you're not going to get paid for it. So you're doing it out of the kindness of your heart.
No, she'll get paid back, but not in money.
But not in money.
Again, you get paid back in the knowledge and the full heart.
Right, the warm and fuzzy. She will get the warm
the
and
fulfillment.
fuzzy. Yes. But again, and it could be tedious. I mean, and there will be times when you will ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I wasting my time? But it just takes that one mentee to send you one quick note or one quick thank you, and that would be worth it. Again, warm and fuzzies inside all over.
Absolutely. I get that all the time. I have people come up to me all the time at events or whatever, and it's, Chuck, that episode you did on the RCDD, I'm gonna go for my RCD now.
Yeah.
I made an impact in her life, and that's
And again, the mentee that I was paired up with, again, he was sitting for a certain certification, and once he sent me the email saying that he passed that cert, I mean, it almost brought a tear to my eye. You know what I mean? Just because and the email that he wrote, just thanking me, every other sentence. Thank you. I could not.
That's the wind underneath our wings as mentors.
And that is, again, warm and fuzzy feeling right there.
Well, I think that I may have cried to Alvin once at least. So that happened. I don't think you were necessarily talking about me, but man, he turned that around. It's like, all right, I got this, and to be able to trust somebody like that to go to, and it's like, look, I'm feeling frustrated. I may likely cry. In fact, I told you I couldn't talk to you because I would likely cry. So we had to wait a couple days.
Right.
But talking to somebody like that understands and can, really look at a situation objectively and steer you in the right direction because they've probably gone through that same experience.
Yep.
Yeah. So I love our audience. I really do. So John asks, what tools do you use? A syllabus, a PowerPoint? How do you know how to teach certain disciplines? And then right behind him, Bob answers, I found it's not as important as your ability to listen and ask appropriate questions.
That's it.
I mean,
again, when I made the decision to become a mentor, there was no playbook, I just went off of things that I've learned and my experiences and what to do and what not to do. And, it wasn't, and again, I told my mentee that up front. I'm like, hey, it's probably going to be a little rough starting off because I'm new to this too. But again, if you ask me things or come to me asking me questions about life or about anything work related, and I can't find the answers, again, I'm pretty sure I will be able to get someone that can help me help you.
that's relationships in general, except for romantic relationships,
Right.
right?
Right.
I mean, when you get a new dog, the relationship's kind of rough at first until you kind of learn each
Right.
other's language.
Yeah.
When you meet somebody new at church, a new friend or somebody out in the field, that relationship's rough at first until you kind of learn how to communicate to each other.
Correct. Correct.
The only difference with a romantic relationship is you got the rose-colored glasses on.
Yeah.
Oh, he or she is so beautiful, and you polish over all that other stuff.
And how long have you been married? So it must have worked appropriately.
It seems like I've only been married a week, but I think
Wow.
technically, I think we've been married for 15 years. I think.
That's awesome. That's
So,
awesome.
I don't know. It seems like yesterday. What a difference it makes when you're married to the right person. That's
Yep,
all.
definitely.
I'll just
It
leave
makes
that
it
right
a lot easier. I know
Yeah.
that. Yes.
It's another conversation I had with my son on our hike. I told him about being equally yoked,
Yeah.
and I had to explain that to him what that was. What does equally yoked mean? So,
So I have a question for Heather. So
Yeah.
I know we're talking about mentorship and menteeship, et cetera. What about women mentorship? Because obviously not all women are going to feel comfortable with being mentored by a guy, not by no other reason than they might just have a better experience of aligning themselves with a woman. Are you involved in that as well, Heather?
Yeah, I would say, and I was going to kind of go piggyback off of what someone else had said during the call, that it doesn't always necessarily mean that your mentor or mentee needs to necessarily be in the same industry or have the same passion as one another. But there still be some similarities there. And one of the key relationships that I have had previously was that she loved HVAC design, but she was a professor in my degree program at K-State in architectural engineering, and we really clicked. But I hated taking her class. I did not get into HVAC design. I got into low voltage electrical communications. But we shared a relationship and bond because, my mom had MS and one of her family members had MS. And, it was something that really brought us together. And then also just aspiring, she was a woman in the industry as well. That I was able to really look up to and to, really leverage some of that mentoringship as being a woman. And then also, but I wouldn't say like it always needs to be of the same sex, or men or women, because I really do believe that everyone can benefit from each other. That everyone has a different path. Everyone has different experiences, and whatever those experiences that you're looking for to aspire to be and to have, I love going and doing hospitality work. And I love doing hospitality and gaming and love doing that type of work for projects in this industry. But one of the people that I look up to the most and who has really mentored me the most from a technical perspective these last 5 years coming out of college has been a male. And he has always listened and always taken the time. He'll stay online until 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night to help me understand what I'm doing or finishing a project or explaining, differences to me. And, he's been somewhat of an unofficial mentor. And,
Right.
but again, to me, it's great to have a woman and woman just because of in engineering and STEM really supporting that as each other. But I wouldn't always necessarily say that you're limited to
Right.
that. Is again being open-minded and understanding what other people can communicate and relate to. I'm mentoring someone right now, and he's a male, but because of what our aspirations have as each other, he has his PE. I don't have my PE yet.
Right.
He got his degree in electrical engineering, and so like he has something that I'm pursuing, but he's just recently getting into the low voltage and IT world because he
Right.
did a lot of AV stuff before. And so I'm able to give him some of my feedback of how to do certain things. So it's a two-way street.
Yes. Yes.
And so
No, I get
don't
where
know if I
Bob's
really
coming
answered
from.
the question directly.
Right.
That's just kind of giving some of my experience and understanding that you really can go both ways.
Yes, and there's going to be some benefit to a female mentor mentee, male mentor mentee. There's going to be some benefits there because a male may not necessarily understand some of the challenges that a woman might have to overcome, and
Exactly.
vice versa. but there may not be, like you just pointed out, there may not be a position of the same sex in, like, for example, I have 2 mentors right now. Yes, you can have more than one. I have 2 of them. One of them is the same age as me in this industry. The other's 12 years younger than me in a different industry. And she's the CEO of a company, and she's actually one of my wife's friends. So, and then what, it helps me because now it helps me understand people of her generation and people of my generation. Because how many times have you heard people say, "Oh, boomer this, millennial X that"?
Yeah, and I mean, I would say my first industry related mentor, again, she didn't know it at the time, and I remember her name. I'm gonna give her a shot. The name was Vicky Tripp, and I think it goes back to something you said earlier about someone that was nurturing, you know, because I was surrounded by other technicians. Again, I'm basically new, and I'm learning it from the start, and I'm working with guys that have been there, 2 to 5 years already, or sometimes some more than that. And it was what you said earlier. So they didn't want to teach me anything because they were afraid for their own jobs or positions. And I've had people ask me that question before. Hey, you don't want to teach him everything. He's going to take your position. And I'm like, if that happens,
Good for you.
If that
Good
happens,
for you.
I've done my job. I am
Yes.
mentor
Yes.
81. I am the man. But
if you mentor somebody and they become your boss,
Right.
you did your job right.
Right, I did it.
Or you're not doing your job.
Right. But I didn't want to come off as being arrogant, but I think I have enough confidence in me and my abilities to, again, if that I'm secure in myself. If that happens, good for him. Great for him. Again, that means I did a good job. But again, at first it was Vicky, because she saw what I was going through, and she sort of kind of, hey, this kid wants to learn. He wants to know what we do. I'm going to teach him. And that was basically it.
Wow, what a great conversation. Okay, final thoughts. You got 60 seconds because I've got a study group that's starting in 7 minutes, and I've got to be on time for that one. Okay.
We're going to make you join them 30 seconds before, Chuck.
Just like I did this group, right? You got 60 seconds for any final thoughts, and we'll start off with you, Kevin.
Oh, gosh. Well, thank you. Thanks for having me today. And Alvin and Heather, thank you so much for participating in this important conversation. I do business development and marketing, and I have a keen awareness to mentorship and helping other people out, whatever industry they're in. And I just really am grateful for your time here today. And just thank you very much. I think for all of us, we're all on LinkedIn. Our faces are on our pages. Contact information is down below. We are happy to help you. And I would love a shout out from Heather and Alvin as to the organizations that they might be able to get more involved in with your guidance. And let's just go ahead and talk a little bit about that and how they can get more involved.
Heather, you want to be the first one at the bat?
Yeah, sure. So kind of just a key takeaway from the conversations today, and just to anyone that's looking to get involved, whether you're becoming a mentor or a mentee, is to, again, if you feel that you know that presence and asking questions, or if you feel like you want to grow, or whatever that may need to be, is to just continue to pay it forward. If you feel like somebody has done something good for you, or what someone else has helped you grow, think about that, and then just continue to pay it forward to help other people grow, because that's how we're going to establish a community and surround ourselves with great people, is to, again, pay those things forward that someone has once done to you. Whether it's just very small things of just sending you an article, whether it's just them liking your LinkedIn post, whether that's, them helping you study every night, like what Chuck's just, putting up his study group, whatever it is, into it, whatever measurement it is it can go a long way.
Yep. Alvin?
Again, if you're thinking about doing it, do it. I mean, it'll make you feel good. about yourself in the end. And again, at first, it's going to be different, going to be a little rough, but again, just see it through. And again, there are all type of programs you can do within your community. I saw someone say at the university, the big starting point for me was at church. Again, there are all type of opportunities within your communities to volunteer, whether it be just be coaching rec ball. And again, it's not, at first people will probably think it's weird if you don't have kids there, but no, just go sign up, coach a team. They're always looking for volunteers. And then, you still have Girl Scouts, Cub Scouts. You can do all type of things to volunteer and help and help out. And again, it just gives you a good feeling inside when you pay it forward like that.
Absolutely. And so, some people will do it for those warm feelings, and there are some people who are they're disconnected from humanity.
Right.
And for those people, being a mentor is going to make you a better person.
Yes.
Being a mentee is going to make you a better person.
Yes.
So there's no reason why you should not be a mentor or a mentee.
And if you're looking for more information on how to get involved in the infrastructure world, contact Heather, contact Alvin. They can steer you in the absolute best direction you can possibly find. So just direct message them or check on me, and we'll be happy to get to there.
Absolutely. Yep. Thank you, Heather, for coming on tonight. Alvin, thank you for coming on. It's a pleasure finally get to meet you too.
Yes. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
And come back.
Yes. We're going to have a follow-up conversation.
Let's
do
it.
I promise next time I won't come on 3 minutes.
No, I like it that way. I like it. Just throw us out there. I love it.
I hope he answered the questions really great today.
Yes.
I only threw up about half the questions because I ran out of time.
And I want to clarify, I did receive them. Apparently they landed in a different file.
So not Chuck, you can wipe your hands of that now. There you go.
Thank you all for having us.
All right.
Take care, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.